Okay, cool. We're on air. Welcome, everybody. I thought I'd do a Gamergate Tonight stream due to the immense amount of happenings over the last week and being kind of out of the loop, so I brought some people on. We've got the Ralph Retort, Sargon of Akkad, Roguestar, and Jade. And we're going to be talking about just the monumental victories of the last week because there have been so many, it's almost hard to believe compared to the last 2 months. The momentum has picked up magnitudes more than it was previously. So does somebody want to start us off? What happened today?
Social justice meltdown. What has been going on the past couple of days? Just an absolute denial of reality. What is going on with them?
Well, that's their typical MO. They refuse to address what actually happens in reality. They love to pretend that things are one way when they're completely the opposite. And I think seeing that in a corporate way is fucking amazing. Watching Gawker blow up is amazing.
But literally, right? Feminist Frequency's latest tweet.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a coincidence that it's always men and boys committing mass shootings. The pattern is connected to ideas of toxic masculinity in our culture. Full Macintosh, right fucking there. That was obviously written by him. You know.
Well, have you noticed her approach after the Utah event where she started talking about guns? I know that they've hinted or they've talked about, kind of put feelers out about wanting to make it a culture war, using that kind of language to define it as a culture war.
If you go back and read the, I'll tweet Devon Sutra's Guide to Ending Gamers. Read it. It reads like a battle, like battle instructions.
Well, that's where the money is, though. I mean, I think to somebody like a Sarkeesian or McIntosh, gaming is a springboard into bigger issues, and I think you're going to start to see that over the next couple of weeks as they try to make it into some other issue or something bigger or more encompassing.
Yeah, so, I've got a theory about this.
Well, let's hear it.
Of basically how to define it. I actually spent all afternoon writing a script about this, and I don't normally write scripts. Basically, I think this culture is effectively, it really is like Marxist influence, radical feminist Marxist influence, and it seems to be some sort of the sort of San Francisco Bay sort of area, because a lot of these people do always say Bay Area on the thing, and it seems to be that kind of, seems to be a locus for it. It seems they always move there and congregate there. And because it's not a feminist culture. There are plenty of feminists opposed to this culture. Sensible, factual people who are concerned about things that aren't Marxism. And so basically they use all the sort of deceptive means that we've all seen to attain the gatekeeper position. They always talk about gatekeeping. Leigh Alexander's XOXO fishing. She goes, "Oh, they make them. They try to be the gatekeepers of gaming," and it's like, well, it's either that or you're the gatekeepers of gaming, and you're the people who hate. You're the people who aren't gamers. So why the fuck would we want you as the gatekeepers of gaming?
Well, it's all about it's about control. I mean, that's in their language. That's in their toxic ideology. It's this idea of what a social justice warrior. People describe them as cultural Marxists. I've heard a lot of different terms. It's a rose by any other name, but they want power. They want prestige and position, and it's a con job. It's a fucking, a snake oil salesman. It's a huckster.
Yeah,
these people are frauds of the highest level, and I think it's interesting too. I've noticed over the last, I guess, week. I've been out of the loop, like I said, but I have seen people putting up information. A lot of feminists are coming out now and talking about social justice warriors and starting to differentiate. That I don't think people understand how big of a deal that is. If you can get normal, you know what I mean, not crazy SJWs, but just normal feminists to come out and start talking about social justice warriors, you've won the battle. When they start saying we don't want these crazy fucks associated with us.
Yeah, that's the thing. It seems to be like, and I don't know how else to put it, but this kind of like Bay Area culture where it's malignant, it's insidious and malignant, and I think that they have reached enough of a critical mass. I mean, if you watch their XOXO talks, they are unrepentant. Leigh Alexander needs to be sectioned. I would never, if I was doing what they were doing, I would never get up and be recorded saying, yeah, I'm openly biased, I've got an agenda to push, sorry, this is a conspiracy, and it's just like, are you fucking mad?
Well, isn't it shocking, too, how when this first began, and I said this at the very beginning, these people are two things: supremely lazy and very arrogant. And both of those play into their ability to leave a trail. Just they drag their ass across the internet. But they will say things no other sane human being would ever say. You have people like, was it Jen Frank at the IDGF where she had talked about giving inflated scores because she wanted people to get bonuses?
Oh, that was Liana.
Was that Liana?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my mistake. That was Liana. But you have people saying shit like this. Nobody in any other industry would ever say that.
Well, just think about like what's happened from some just average gamer's perspective. He doesn't really go on Kotaku and all that much, right? So one day he goes on there, and they're on Gamasutra or wherever, he's just like, I've just got paid. I'm going to get a new game, and he sees these articles. Gamers are over. Okay, well, I'm not going to go to that website. Goes to the next one. Gamers are over. Okay, I'm going to go to a different website. Gamers are over. And he's just like, man, what the hell's going on with these gamers are over? It's like, oh, there was this journalistic corruption, and instead of firing the people involved, all of the press decided that none of us exist anymore.
Yeah, and how's that working out? Stephen Totillo, if you're watching this, how's that working out for you, asshole? You could have cleaned it up, couldn't you? You could have got off your fucking ass and done what an editor-in-chief does, but you didn't, did you? How does it feel watching every advertiser get stripped from your fucking website? Is that good? Is that enjoyable?
But that's the thing, isn't it? Because what they're doing is they're closing ranks to protect the culture.
Oh, it's going to look, yeah. How is that going to look on a resume? Do these people think anybody's going to hire them? When they burn Gawker to the ground, when Polygon is bankrupt, when Gamasutra is, at a fucking garage sale because nobody wants to touch it, do they think that somebody's going to be like, I want to hire the guy that made that happen? Let me hire Patricia Hernandez. She did such a great job.
That's why they're flailing. That's why they're flailing so hard now, though. That's why they're literally just saying the most ridiculous things.
Stephen Schreier said that he compared us to Ebola today, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's no normal person who doesn't know anything about this. By the way, did you know that gamers are the equivalent of Ebola and they're worse than ISIS, and they're probably responsible for the Holocaust?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. They call us ISIS because we strike terror in them, and they call us Ebola because we're killing their ass.
What about the founder of ISIS said we were the mafia today? Also, yeah.
They said we're the mafia? Really?
Yeah, it's the mafia, not politics.
Oh, yeah,
we're a mafia of autistic people. We're the La Spurga Nostra. That's
we're
what we are.
KKK apparently too.
He basically threatened any developer that had anything to do with the Gamergate and said he would go.
What was the guy? Some guy today tweeted, and I didn't think it was really him because it wasn't a verified account, but apparently it is. It was the
IGD.
founder.
Yeah, I'm on that one right now. Actually, it's Ernest W. Adams.
Yeah, that's right.
He's one of the founders of IGDA, and IGDA is supposed to be it's supposed to be a lobby, an organization for game developers. There's talks that it's supposed to be a union and supposed to stick up for game developer rights. But right now, he's basically saying on Twitter, if you're an indie developer and you are supporting Gamergate, watch what you say. Your business is at stake. Internet is forever.
Well, yeah. Could somebody in chat do me a favor? Could somebody take that tweet and send it to fucking David Jaffe, who has said from the very beginning that these people hold no power and that nobody's job is threatened and nobody in the industry is threatened by any of this? Go show David Jaffe that, and I want to hear his fucking response to the guy saying, if you talk or if you're positive or pro-Gamergate, you're fucking done.
Okay, this is what he said specifically, Ernest. If you're an indie developer and you are supporting #Gamergate, watch what you say. Your future business is at stake. #the internet is forever. That's what he said.
Yeah, it is. The internet is forever, and these people are not. We'll be around when they're gone, and their organizations are gone, and their companies are bankrupt.
And it's not just him. Jonathan Blow has actually been on a tirade with like hacking the NSA databases, and also outing out a lot of Gamergate Anonymous, and also threatening aspiring game developers who support Gamergate. He's basically saying, we will out you and we will blacklist you from the industry. Just go to Jonathan Blow's fucking feed and you can see that whole fucking thing. And
see, this is what drives me nuts. You have people like, don't get me wrong, I like Jaffe. I know people have argued with him. I know he has a position people don't necessarily like. My problem with him is it just seems like he's disconnected from the reality of what's going on. These people all know each other, they fucking stick up for each other, and they will fuck with your career. And now they're being open about it. They're making statements saying they're going to do that. How can you sit on the fence with that? How can you be a moderate or a neutral when these people are saying shit like that? It boggles my mind.
They won't let you. I mean, look at Boogie. Look at his tweets. I saw him the other day. He was like, look, I've really, really tried to remain neutral, but I keep getting attacked for being neutral. And it's like, yeah, it's not Gamergate attacking for being neutral, is it? You know, like they're a hegemonic culture. They know that all of this comes crumbling down if they don't win. You know, they can't just exist in a sort of smaller state.
Well, yeah, but what's coming crumbling down? That's the thing I think these people need to ask themselves. Like, if you're sitting on the fence, and you're worried about it collapsing, what's collapsing exactly? The corruption? Is it the nepotism and the cronyism? Like, you should want that to collapse. You would want an industry, whether it's reporting or game development, that's free, that lets an artist make the product they want to make, that lets somebody produce something they feel good about. But these people, they're fucking poison. They're poisoning our hobby. And
Yeah,
this sitting on the fence shit isn't going to work. And like Boogie, I feel bad for him. I think he should, personally, I would like him just being pro Gamergate, but he tried to be so nice. He tried to be so fucking nice and just say normal things, sensible things, and he got shit on by, look at what they did to him at fucking NeoGAF, for Christ's sake. They just tore into that poor fucker.
He didn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve anything like that. No one does. No one deserves what they throw at them. It drives me crazy, and they're so... They talk about things like hegemonic masculinity. It's like, can we talk about hegemonic Bay Area fucking culture for a minute instead? Because that seems to be the real problem that everyone's having. You know?
It is. It's way too condensed geographically. These people, it shouldn't be like that. It really shouldn't. And what it makes me wonder, like, what's the fucking point? If you're some kid and you're getting your degree and you want to fucking be a game developer, look at the shit you got to deal with. Look at the fucking hoops you got to jump through. You can't just make a game. You got to agree that white male patriarchy is terrible and all this other fucking buzzword bullshit that's been dredged up from Tumblr. And all you want to do is just make a video game. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy. And I just can't believe the things they'll say. I am flabbergasted. I've just got so many fucking tweets on my fucking Twitter thing where I've just screen grabbed something insane, just like some logical contradiction or absurdity. I saw one of them say, "Well, it turns out you can have misogynist feminists then."
Oh, of course, because anybody that disagrees with groupthink is obviously tainted somehow. You can't disagree with them, and if you do, you have a flaw. You can't be a feminist and not a social justice warrior. You internalize misogyny. You can't be gay and not be a social justice warrior, because obviously that's, I don't know what, hidden heterosexuality? What would they call that?
I don't know, but that's the point, isn't it? When they say misogyny, they're not saying hatred of women. They're saying hatred of the Bay Area culture. That's what they're attacking. If they're calling feminists misogynist because they're of a different culture, then
well, and that's been my point with these Tumblr. Like, when I started doing the Tumblrisms videos, when I talked about SJWs on that particular website, I kept trying to drill that home. It doesn't matter what group it is. It could be any group, LGBT, fucking feminist, gamers. It doesn't matter. These people will fuck it up. They're not part of you, and if you go against them, they'll destroy you. Yeah. And look at what's happening to Gawker. Gawker is going to go bankrupt. It's going to burn to the ground.
I can't stress enough with everybody that this isn't just Gawker, because all their advertising is focused on Gawker Media. That goes towards the parent company Gawker. That goes to the Gawker blog. That goes to Kotaku. That goes to Defamer. That goes to Lifehacker. Yeah, the basic asshole of the internet. If we win, that's a huge fucking win, guys. We would have avenged fucking the Hateful Eight script when it leaked out, and everything else that Gawker Media has done. So everybody should, take this seriously, that we are fucking driving a blow to Gawker right now.
Well, send us a thank you.
It's so awesome. I want advertiser every day. I just want that. Just every single day. Two advertisers a day would be awesome, or something.
Well, you're going to reach that point. I mean, it's picked up steam. It's snowballing to the point now where it was just an advertiser maybe every few weeks, then one every week, then you had a few every day, because they feel comfortable. Yeah, the more that do it, the more that come out and say, we're done. We don't want to be a part of your company. We don't want to associate with the stuff that you're doing. It's killing our brand. You're hurting our market. The more they come out and do that. And again, Intel led the way. I mean, Intel really fucking, look at the heat they took from these people for daring to say they don't want to advertise on a site that's shitting on the people that buy their products.
Yeah, and I think
they called them craven idiots yesterday, I think. Yeah.
I couldn't believe that article. That was just
that was a horrible article.
That was just, who approved that? I guess Max Reed did.
Yeah.
Well, and then you got people like, what is it, Sam Biddle, that basically shot a bullet in Gawker. Now he's not working at Valleywag anymore. I saw a tweet saying that that was a decision before Gamergate. My ass. He got booted out to the curb because he cost them fucking money.
I don't know. Do you think he'll come back in 2 weeks like Jen Frank or something?
Oh, no, obviously he's got a sterling reputation. Everybody wants to hire the guy that lost Mercedes-Benz. Please come work in my fucking advertisement, yeah. I just, I think the thing that's floored me the most is I've been looking through the Gamergate tag and kind of reading up on some of the stuff I missed, and it seems like people are killing it. Like, people are knocking this shit out of the ballpark. So I'm wondering, like, well, there's like a little bit of infighting here and there, and there's a little bit of doubt here and there. Like, you guys have, all the people that have taken part in this Gamergate thing, you have crushed a multi-million-dollar company. You've stood up against the biggest PR blitz you're probably ever going to see from mainstream media and walked away unfucking scathed. Nobody's done that. Occupy Wall Street fell on their ass. Anonymous didn't. They weren't able to do it. But for some reason, a bunch of spurgy gamers can. That's just amazing to me.
I like the fact that taking down Gawker is a service to the Western world. There is no one who won't be in our debt after that. You don't get as much.
Wait. They're saying he got promoted.
He got promoted, and he got moved to.
He got moved to the main Gawker site. Yeah.
Yeah, he got promoted to head. He got promoted to head janitor. That's what they did.
It was one of those promotions. Yeah. Exactly.
Where did he get promoted to? Yeah.
They moved him to the main Gawker site. Yeah.
Well, he's an expert in bullshit. I mean, look what comes out of his mouth, so he's probably good at mopping it up. Yeah, he's the head janitor at fucking Gawker HQ. That's my question.
Yeah, it's paid vacation.
Yeah, I mean, Gawker was
saying.
already sketchy as hell even before all this, so, I mean...
with the interns not being their interns, right?
Yeah. They've had a lot of dirt, so it's part of that. It's catching up to them.
Yeah, that was a brilliant decision, Gawker. Steven, I hope Steven Tillo watches this. Yeah, Steven, that's you got a great company there. Don't pay your interns, shit on your advertisers, have people pick fights with fucking bully victims. You guys are really, Steven, you're doing a great job, you fucking moron. Really brilliant work over at Kotaku and Gawker in general. It's a good job.
Did you see the social justice warriors advocating that a charity stop taking money because it was coming from Gamergate?
Oh, are they gonna cover the cost? Like, here's the idea. How about Gamergate donates, I don't know, $50,000 to a charity, and then let them step in and say, no, you can't take it, and ask the charity instead to say, well, give us it yourselves. They'll never put the money up. Social justice warriors aren't going to cover the difference. Are you fucking kidding me?
I think that's effectively what's happening. But I don't think they've challenged the social justice warriors. I can't remember who was doing it, but it was something like $100,000 or something. Wasn't it? Am I remembering this wrong?
At this point, there's been like the people that have been pushing this have put again $70,000, wasn't it, for the Fine Young Capitalist?
Yeah.
You had 10,000 for anti-bullying.
12,000 for anti-bullying.
It just doesn't stop. The amount of money that's been just fucking given away for causes that people thought are good, and they keep painting this narrative that all these people in Gamergate are misogynists. They hate women. They beat puppies. We're giving money to fucking female game development and anti-bullying bullying charities. What the fuck are you talking about? What have you guys done? You haven't done shit.
That's it. Validated through right action, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Our fucking actions speak louder than our words. All they've got are their words. They haven't done shit. Where's your fucking donation to anti-bullying? Where's your fucking donation to female game development? You sure talk about it a lot, but you don't really do anything, do you?
Yeah, shall we talk about their actions, the things they do? Because, if they speak louder than words...
They bitch on Twitter, that's all they do.
What kind of people tries to make a charity give back money? Like, I don't even know.
What are they going to show up at the orphanage and take the money out of the food out of the kid's fucking mouth? Like, what kind of people are these?
Yeah,
there's no depth to which they won't stoop. That's the thing. I've decided that nothing they actually do is now. I may be shocked by what they say, but I'm not shocked that they'll do it because they just don't seem to have any standards.
Apparently, someone's saying it's 16,000 for anti-bullying.
And then 1,100 for UNICEF. Yeah, it's ridiculous. You can't even keep track of it. Gamergate has given so much fucking money to charity at this point. You can't keep a running tally of it. It's too much. It's too many fucking organizations. And we're the monsters that lurk in the darkness, apparently, according to MSNBC and others. We're the fucking boogeyman under everybody's bed.
I got a suggestion for a new charity that Gamergate.
No more charities. No more charities. We've done so many. We've done so many.
Screw it. Let people do it if they want. What is it?
Okay, what is it?
I was thinking once the holiday season gets closer, how about donating to Wounded Warrior Project? That's for veterans coming back from Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom, mostly guys who need, what do you call this, need prosthetics. So I think that's one of the charities Gamergate can give to if they're feeling like it. So
I don't think that's a bad idea. I guarantee you. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, just to point out that the American government's notorious for stringing their veterans out. Look into it, man. They fuck their veterans over.
Somebody's saying we need to donate to Autism Speaks. No, we are Autism Speaks. That's what gamers are. That's how we spend thousands of hours in WoW. We are autism incarnate, and that's why we're kicking their ass. We're dedicated.
Well, we could. I was talking to King and Paul about this. We can also donate to a human trafficking charity. I was thinking about Mighty Nepal.
I support human trafficking, Jade.
no, anti.
They need money to help kidnap children. Let's get on that. That's good.
You know what I meant.
Is it located in San Francisco?
No. Oh, good.
Sorry.
So, I mean, what is the count of advertisers that's left? I was familiar with UAT and Intel, with Scottrade, Unilever, and Mercedes-Benz, but I hear there's more that have come off since then.
Adobe.
Yeah.
Adobe's basically saying, nah, we won't deal business with them anymore, and we stand against bullying. So
good for Adobe. Good for fucking Adobe.
Colgate, BMW, Mercedes, but we're not sure about Mercedes because they said that, they pulled their advertisement and then they paused it for a day and then, brought it back on. I think there was talk about Hulu for a little bit.
Yeah, and again, the amount of success is amazing. Everybody since the beginning was saying shit like, oh, you need a leader, you need a fucking council, you need a doctrine, you need to police each other, you need to do this and that. The reason this has worked so phenomenally well is everybody's doing their own fucking thing, and if it works, people follow it, and if it doesn't, they don't.
It's just like gaming. It's a
It works by like collective disapproval, basically. I mean, if you're doing something too many people don't like, I mean, it just doesn't get done. People don't follow it, so.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, essentially, it's that. It's allowing the group to actually decide what they want to do without forcing it on them.
Right.
And it lets people be motivated, and when they're invested in something they think's a good idea, they work harder for it, rather than being told it's a good idea and then feeling like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we're approaching the point now, right, where mainstream media has gone on to the next fucking thing. Maybe they're going to go look for that Malaysian flight again. I don't know. But, like, they've given up at this point. So Gawker's on its own. Polygon is it's on its own. These assholes are in our ballpark again. So I don't know what they're expecting, but it's not going to be a pleasant fucking month for them.
Well, it's sort of escalating on Feminist Frequency now, tying it back to the latest tweets when they're talking about school shootings and the latest shootings happening around and tying it to toxic masculinity. So I think we're gonna head back when fucking Columbine and the school shootings and
so they're going back to Jack Thompson.
They're getting back to 1999, dude. They're gonna dig up everything from Columbine again.
Why can't they just leave the fucking hobby alone? Why do they have to tamper so much and try? Like, aren't these the same people that made the argument that no, the two different pieces are different? You can't say that just because I disagree with the idea that violence in gaming causes violence in real life doesn't mean that I can't agree with the idea that sexism in gaming causes sexism in real life. But now they're going to turn and do the violent video game shit.
It's just with Feminist Frequency's tweets and at least what you discussed earlier before we streamed. They're pushing this to a national agenda. They're going to bring up the USU open carry thing and why she refused. They're going to, I believe, their next move is to drag in gun grabber issues on this and drag in the NRA and prepare for, I don't know, prepare for 2000.
Yeah, they want a culture war, but
yeah.
I think this is why they're going to lose. And again, when you look up at look at the makeup, I guess, of Gamergate and why it's so phenomenal, is you've got people of every political spectrum. You know what I mean? You've got conservatives and libertarians and liberals. You've got free market capitalists. You've got communists. All of them are saying the same thing, though. They don't want to inject their own political or philosophy or ideology into it. They just want gaming to be left the fuck alone. So these people that want to make it into some national agenda, like Feminist Frequency or whoever happens to be, that's why they're failing. We just want to play video games. Just fuck off.
Yeah, it seems to be about like a point of principle now, doesn't it? Just sort
Yeah.
of much more sort of it's almost it's you could almost describe it as a battle of subjectivity versus objectivity. You know,
Right.
they just everything they say is just about themselves. Every fucking word. I mean, I'm going to read some out quickly. Dogpiling, a group overwhelming through volume. Sea lining, pestering a target with unsolicited questions delivered with a false air of civility. Gish galloping, flooding the debate space with an overload of minor, often reworded issues. Gaslighting, presenting false information with the intent of making victims doubt their own perception, memory, or sanity. Who does that group apply to? What does
It applies to them. That's
that
why they're
was
so
tweeted
familiar with
by
the terms. That's why they use them so much.
yeah, that was tweeted by Feminist Frequency, and it's just like that is just you admitting what you are.
I think I don't know. I'm positive though. Looking at everything that's been accomplished and everything that's happened, we're winning. I mean, we are legitimately winning. Nothing they have done has stopped it. Nothing will stop it.
It's just caused it to grow. It's twice the size as it was before they got on the mainstream media.
Well, yeah, we get to thank Stop Gamergate 2014 for actually doubling traffic. They have doubled our traffic. Thank you, hashtag that has failed.
Didn't it cause ISIS to come out and denounce Gamergate, though, putting them de facto on the same team as ISIS?
Yes, they did. Actually, ISIS actually came out and used the Stop Gamergate hashtag.
Yeah. Well done, Social Justice. I'm impressed.
If ISIS denounces you, oh my god.
Not many people are on the same team as ISIS. I mean, it's so hard to be on their team because they're a bunch of fucking terrorists. So, well done. Sorry.
But no, I'm just. You have to feel happy. I see some people that seem kind of, I don't know, maybe a little disenfranchised or a little burnt out or a little unsure. I don't think it's really clicked for a lot of people what the fuck you've all accomplished. You've taken on things that are bigger than you with more connections and more power and more money than you, and you've stomped their fucking shit in from one end of the internet to the other. Nobody has ever done that. This is unprecedented. You don't think there are guys in PR firms right now and marketing people that teach courses like that watching the shit unfold? This is going to be fucking class curriculum 5 semesters from now. Like, don't do this because you don't want to see your business get burned to the ground.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with the market. Don't fuck with your customer.
I've been saying for a little while now that I reckon this is probably their Stalingrad in like a wider cultural context. I really actually think that this will be a precedent for other people. Literally, like you were saying, this is what the conservatives are going to be like teaching to themselves, so they can, in their own political spheres, push back against this weird culture that just has to be in everyone's shit all the time and suck the fun out of everything.
So has anybody really sat down, though, to kind of look at, I think it is an interesting question, why has this succeeded where others have failed? I mean, what do you think, if you guys had to pin it on something, what do you think Gamergate has done differently or better that has allowed it to succeed this much where others would have imploded or failed? Why did Anonymous stall up when they were going against Scientology? Why did Occupy Wall Street stall up when it was going against big banks?
Hey, Total Biscuit is in chat and he wants to get on. That's what your chat is saying.
Well, are they? Yeah, but my chat also asks me every other day how big my dick is and how old it is. So are we sure that's true?
Well, I know why Gamergate's winning. Basically, it's leaderless. It's just the sheer amount of chaos that this movement sprungs from, and the fact that we have no central organization. We're all basically on the same ideals, and we all. Actually, in the realm of Gamergate itself, we all debate and verify each other's issues. We call each other out.
Mm-hmm.
We don't just take each other's word for it. I mean, I've been screamed at from the very beginning here. So the fact that Gamergate is doing the job that game journalists should be doing is speaking for the success in itself, and digging up fact after fact after fact and exposing scandal after scandal, that's what makes Gamergate win. And the fact that we're essentially leaderless, that they have to target an entire hashtag without blaming individuals, so to speak. That's pretty much what has has the enemy shitting their pants because they can't fight an entire demographic when it's all solidified on each other.
All
Plus,
right.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
go
One sec, man. Chat keeps bringing up Total Biscuit. I'm fairly certain they're just fucking with me, but on the off chance they're not, I followed him on Twitter. I can send him a DM if he follows back. If he really wants on, I'll send him a link to the Google thing. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Ro.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I mean, we've had bad press before too. I think that's also toughened us up against a lot of this. I mean, we've had media onslaughts, not this big, but with the Columbine stuff in the '90s, and some of the senators, Joe Lieberman and Hillary Clinton, have tried to lead stuff against games before. So I think it's kind of hardened us up a little bit.
You mean we're veterans of these sort of online
Right.
wars?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they picked the wrong demographic to attack, didn't they?
They really did.
Special confluence of interests and experiences that have made gamers exactly the wrong people to target. Fucking idiots. Honestly, there's such morons. I can't get over it.
Yeah, Total Biscuit is in chat. I see him.
Oh, that's cool.
All right. Well, I can. Is there a way to? I don't know. This Google shit.
His Twitter guy is asleep. That's what he's saying.
Well, yeah, I know the feeling. My phone girl quit on me apparently because she couldn't handle the sheer volume of people calling the architectural firm because that's where I work. Or so I've been told. I think this is his account. I'll send an invite. Try to send one through there. Okay. But yeah, they did fuck with the wrong demographic though. When you think about it, I mean, we're people that have we've killed the orcs, we've slain the dragon, we've fucking rescued the princess, we've fought the evil empire, we killed the space god. We're used to fighting shit like that, and we're very good at it. And so that's all it is on the internet. It's not real life. We're fucking with them on the internet. It's a digital playground. They're in our territory.
This has been one of the greatest raids ever, guys. Really. People will remember this raid for all fucking time.
Immortalized.
Yeah.
It has been good. Sorry. So I'm just trying to recap the news. So Sam Biddle apparently promoted to head janitor. Colgate leaves. Nissan leaves. Other companies have left. Adobe.
Yeah.
Stephen Totillo is, I guess, crying right now, weeping to himself because Kotaku's going under. What's the situation with Polygon? Are they still telling people that Shadows of Mordor was terrible because it doesn't teach you how to kiss women? Or what was the article they wrote?
Yeah.
Something about kiss and to kill or something? I forgot.
Some god awful.
What I think that's happening in Polygon, because one of the more decent guys, he's the founding editor. Let's see, his name's Brian Crescente. He's actually trying to stabilize this position, at least from what he's been talking about most of the time. The guy comes from a criminal investigations journalism background.
Mm-hmm.
And the ironic thing about this is the guy started Polygon because Kotaku got bought off by Gawker, and he's one of the founding editors of Gawker. So he bailed from Kotaku to start Polygon and start it right, and now, the same kind of bullshit's happening at Polygon too. So you kind of have to feel for the guy when he's been the founding editor for games journalism in Kotaku, and also now on Polygon, and I don't know. I think he's trying to stabilize everything and trying to fix it from the inside, because, at least from my experience, reading up on Brian Crescente's work, he actually does real journalism, and I'm hoping he will step up to the plate and try to fix things.
Okay,
I'm sorry. People keep saying mailbox at cynicalbread.com.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'm already setting it up.
All right. But yeah, I don't know. I lost track of my thought there. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. So there was Polygon's doing what it's doing. Obviously, Gawker and Kotaku are in the shitter. What's the situation with Gamasutra? Are their numbers still pretty abysmal?
They've got to be, haven't they? They've got to be absolutely tanking.
Well, here's the thing. Advertisers are pulling out, and I checked the traffic rankings for Kotaku, Polygon, Gawker, Rock, Paper, Shotgun, and also Gamasutra. There's a slight bump going up, but for me, the traffic rankings don't matter anymore because the advertisers are pulling out. If the advertisers are pulling out, they're not getting money from those advertisers. So now you're going to have a higher traffic ranking, which means you're going to have to pay for their server costs, which means you have, now you have higher server costs and less income. They can have the #1 ranking for all I care. If they don't have advertisers, they got nothing to, upkeep that ranking, essentially. So, I wouldn't mind if Gawker gets, #1 ranking, but, having 0 advertisers, hey, good on them. Good on them.
Do you think those numbers are real, or do you think they're inflated as a way to try to push back against
It is inflated. It is inflated because it's what Silicon Valley does. You guys should Google this video. It's called "The Problem with Facebook." It's an in-depth analysis on why Facebook, likes are pretty much bullshit, and it's an entryway into basically the click farming world that happens outside the United States, where there's literally a whole bunch of firms that hire a bunch of people to click on your stuff and drive traffic up. So Google that again, the problem with Facebook. It's the same thing that, I wouldn't put it past Gawker or Kotaku or Rock, Paper, Shotgun or Gamasutra to use these click farms outside to the United States to bump up the ranking and essentially, provide fake traffic to them.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening. Also, welcome to the chat, TB.
Hi, I'd like to talk about my long-standing axe that I have to grind with minorities.
Well, I'm a minority. Well, hello, Total Biscuit.
Hi.
Hello.
I hope you're resting, man, because, the health issues, and, it's just great for you to come along here. Hoping that your rest and recovery is doing fine, man.
It's coming along. I'm constantly eating painkillers, which does make the act of debating a little difficult, but the challenge is nice after all.
I could imagine, yeah. So have you been following this week's happenings with all the different advertisers and articles that have come out?
I mean, I've followed this whole thing since the literal start of it, and I've read 8chan and Kotaku in action, as well as pretty much all the mainstream sites for, 3 months now, I think? So I've been keeping up with it.
Yeah, it has been pretty wild. I mean, really, when you think of how far it's come along, especially with, I mean, you've got 8chan and you've got Kotaku in action really has kind of risen to the challenge of people being displaced and not really having a place to go to talk about it.
Yeah, this is very true, and it's strangely enough part of the core problem. And over the last couple of months, I've been spending a great deal of time talking to people in traditional games media via email, because I thought, this seems like the best way to go about it. And it came about initially because I was trying to get this panel together, and so we could really kind of nail this thing down. Like, I firmly believe dialogue is the way to get this shit fixed. Mm-hmm. And it was the lack of dialogue in the first place that drove everybody to this extent, and we are now where we are now as a direct result of that. And, I mean, you all probably know the story by this point. When Game Journal Pros was leaked by Breitbart, the guys who were on my panel in the same day basically said, yeah, we're not gonna do this anymore. Because we don't want to bring the heat. Basically, we don't want anything involved. We don't want to be involved in it. And since then, it's just been emails back and forth between various people. And what's really, really depressing about the whole thing is that every single person I've spoken to who is publicly anti-Gamergate has been willing to hear me out in private, but in public,
really.
Yeah, but in public, not so much. And I've had some very productive conversations with these people, but the problem is that it almost seems like they have to put out a certain face, and I think it really is because the mainstream media narrative is this movement is entirely about harassment. Ergo, if you show even the slightest bit of sympathy towards it, then you will be labeled as a harasser. It's the with us or against us fallacy that's being consistently perpetrated that prevents these people from really engaging with the issues.
Do you think there's an element of peer pressure? I mean, when I looked through the Game Journals Pro stuff that Milo had put up on Breitbart, the different articles he had put out, it seemed like there was a lot of, at least behind the scenes, pressure to keep to the narrative. You had people like Kuchera, especially, seem to really be into kind of enforcing a hold the line mentality, circle the wagons kind of thing.
Kuchera is a fucking real life backseat moderator.
He really is, isn't he?
I don't have a great deal of respect for that guy. After he went after Eric Kane so
Yeah, I
long
hated that
ago,
too.
and showed his flagrant hypocrisy in the process. And after he wrote that stupid article about ad block, like every one of us who is running an ad-supported business model cringed when he wrote that fucking thing, because we've realized that you can't stop ad block. The only thing that you can do is discuss in kind of a calm and rational manner with people, like, this is how the business model works. I understand that you find ads annoying. Everyone finds ads annoying, but, this is kind of how we pay our rent. But I understand if you choose to use it, and there's not really much we can kind of do about it. And condemning people for it is the fucking worst strategy, because it radicalizes people. And this is what fucking Gamergate became. It is a bunch of people who didn't want their identity attacked, who ended up being radicalized, and it got to the point where people who would have never even considered listening to a website like Breitbart are suddenly thinking, maybe they have a point. And we're talking about a person that just a few short months ago, in the form of Milo, wrote a stupid fucking article about Grand Theft Auto rapists.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And this is what I said to these trad media guys that I actually know. It's like, do you realize what you've done? Like, do you realize the kind of people that you've kind of driven some of these guys into the arms of?
Well, they fractured the market, and I think that's one of the interesting aspects of this, is they created a schism when this began. And it seemed like nobody could go anywhere. There was nobody really willing to talk about it. Nobody wanted to publicize anything about any of the happenings that were kind of taking place. And yeah, you had something like Breitbart. You had somebody like Milo Yiannopoulos kind of step in, and here's somebody who had written articles describing gamers in not very positive terms, and he'd written some articles about other things. But he was willing to at least listen to the market. He saw that these people wanted to talk about this, and he wrote about it. And it blows my mind then. You see these outside agencies writing about it and getting all this traffic talking about it, and yet they refuse to do it, and they're dedicated to gaming and gaming culture and what's happening in the gaming scene. So it highlights, to me at least, that there has to be something going on behind the scenes with somebody like a Kuchera, some kind of a taskmaster, somebody using the bully pulpit to really stifle any kind of discussion. When I had done Ed Morrissey's thing, he had sent out invites to a bunch of people to say, hey, come on and represent your side. Let's talk about this. I'll give you equal time. You can say whatever you like. And he was completely turned down. Nobody was willing to do it.
That doesn't surprise me. I think that if you read what Felicia said a couple of days ago, there's another point that you can take from that, and that's she brought up this idea of being afraid to talk about it, and I really think it goes far further than that. Like, I don't think it's a case of just, I'm afraid to mention Gamergate because I'm a woman. I really think it's actually a lot of people are afraid to mention anything that goes against this very loud authoritarian viewpoint. And I've again spoken to all these trad media guys, and the thing that I brought up time and time again is like, why exactly have you not critiqued Anita Sarkeesian's work? Because here's a list of factually wrong things she said, and here's a list of logical leaps she's made. Because honestly, if you're very reductive about what she's saying, then you can come to the conclusion, oh, I mean, she just wants a more diverse cast of characters in games. And pretty much everyone can get behind that. And a lot of what she says makes sense, because, frankly, she's not the first person to say it. We've been saying that we need better written characters in games and less trope-filled writing for decades. This is not a new thing. Games critics have consistently been saying this. But it's when she makes the logical leaps, like the Hitman Absolution thing, that really gets me, saying this is deliberately placed here to carefully concoct sexual arousal and allow for, what's the exact quote, the punishing of the representations of female sexuality. I'm like, based on what?
How are you getting to that? Right.
I mean, that is the kind of statement that someone who has already come to their conclusion makes before they attempt to cherry pick to support their argument. And it doesn't make a great deal of sense. And I think that one of the things that she does very, very badly is to understand mechanical context, which you cannot ignore in video games. You cannot ignore that at all. It's impossible.
No great surprise. She's not a gamer.
Well, yeah, and I think part of the problem with Sarkeesian is you're right. If you came out and made the statement, I want better video game characters, who's going to argue with that? Nobody's really going to say okay. But she doesn't do that, though. She she on the one hand says something like that, which most people would find agreeable, but then on the other hand says, the reason we can't have this is because obviously everything is terrible in the industry, or because the games that you like or the play mechanics that you enjoy represent hurting women or hurting minorities or hurting, you know, any kind of a group. It's weird. It's like a intermixture, an interwoven mixture of agreeable statements and then just utter tripe. You know what I mean? And that's why I think people aren't receptive to it. And personally, I think she's a con artist, but I do agree with you that some of her arguments aren't necessarily bad, but I just don't buy it.
Here's what's weird about this. I think most of like feminist frequency, if you look at it deep enough, it's actually a patriarchal relationship with Sarkeesian just being a sock puppet, and everything is just full Macintosh. Because if you think about it, Macintosh is the writer, he's also the producer. So Sarkeesian is essentially just there to be a pretty face and, you know, to do what Macintosh is doing.
Yeah, I don't like McIntosh because I've read certain tweets he's put out, and it's very Jack Thompson-like. It's very video games are terrible.
There was one specific tweet that really got my back up, and I believe there was another one that I saw, but I can't seem to find it anymore. I don't know if it was being removed or whatever the case. And it was, let's see if I can dig this thing up. Let's see.
You know, Ben Kuchera just went on a rant as soon as we started our stream.
I'm sure he did.
Ben
Telling everybody
Kuchera has
not to.
been ranting for years. If Ben Kuchera is listening to this stream, please calm the fuck down. You are not helping anybody. God,
Like,
you know, we've had some
tweets
respectful
about it.
conversations. But I have met you in real life, Ben, and you were pretty cool back then. Can you please stop stirring the goddamn pot? It would be just lovely if you were to do that. I would be very, very happy.
I know I have all the steak I want, but if you don't get that salad bar out of my peripheral vision, I'll threaten to murder people.
Yeah, he's so off. He's so off kilter. Yeah, I didn't like Kuchera when the Kane thing happened, and I didn't like his reaction. There was a thread on Giant Bomb talking about what had happened, and he made an account to go talk to them, and got his ass chewed out by all the forum users, and actually messaged a mod to shut it down. Like, he's just anti. There are caps of it. He got an award. That's how you can tell that he actually talked to the moderator. You get an award or something for your first time talking to a mod, and right after he got that award, the thread got shut down, deleted.
This is the tweet from Radical Bytes that really started to get my back up. It's, aggression is not the same as physical violence. Saying some games are a risk factor and increased aggression should not be controversial. Except it is very, very controversial, like scientifically. And
Right.
You will be very hard pressed. There was one study that had some fairly tenuous links that said playing video games for a certain amount of time increased the aggression in certain kinds of people, but it was also the conclusion that they kind of drew there was that it was the simple idea of the competitive attitude and also the survival instinct kicking in that really caused that sort of stuff to happen. And that really is the sort of thing that does sound very Thompson-esque, and I'm pretty sure he's made other statements about violent video games as well. That flies in the face of science, and I strongly dislike it when people do that. And I think that that may be the reason why some people are wary of Anita Sarkeesian's videos. I personally am frankly not that wary of them. I don't think she actually has that much influence. And in reality, you are allowed to say whatever you want. You know, we approve of free speech, right? You can go on YouTube and you can create whatever video you like about whatever subject. And being wrong on the internet is not a cardinal sin. But it would be nice to have a real discussion about it. And I would love to see any major gaming website, instead of just here's Anita's latest video, say here's our opinions on Anita's latest video. And I think it was only The Escapist that tried to do that at any point. And that was a fairly short video they did quite a while ago called No Right Answer.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of that, that's been about it.
Well, it raises an issue of impropriety. Like, you have Sarkeesian putting out these videos, and nobody will critique it, nobody will discuss it. It's always a positive support thing. And I think to a lot of people what that comes off as is it looks bad when that's the only message that's being put out, when you can never, ever question it or debate it. I think somebody was putting around or trying to get something going for, was it GDC next year, to try to get Christina Hoff Summers and Sarkeesian to have like a
That is
debate.
unlikely to ever happen.
Summers.
Yeah,
Anita will
I
never do
actually
it.
agree to that, but she's skeptical about Sarkeesian actually actually joining the effort, because Base Mom wants to do it as a panel, so it's not just about Base Mom versus Sarkeesian. Credits to Foxygon, veteran with Purple Heart, for getting that set up. But yeah, the gauntlet has been thrown, and hopefully these guys actually make this a big discussion at GDC, because no one can ignore this anymore.
Well, TB, you were saying that you tried to get this panel going, and it kind of petered out once the Game Journalist Pro thing happened. Do you see, or do you ever foresee any of these people ever stepping up to the plate and saying, you know what, let's debate it. Let's talk about the issues that have been raised over the last 3 months, and let's just have it out. Let's have a debate. Let's have an actual civilized argument.
I think we're getting there, because I think if you read the I think the latest Polygon article that came out, and I'll be keeping a close eye on all of this stuff, because frankly, and I'll say this to everybody, for God's sake, read widely. Don't read the same echo chamber bullshit, because you will end up with a weak opinion. You will end up with this echo chamber within your own sodding head. You've got to read people that you disagree with. There's no harm in that. Don't be afraid of it. But it was one of the latest articles on Polygon, and what it did was it mentioned that there were ethical concerns. Now, it was still sort of leaning towards there's a lot of harassment going on, but it mentioned that there were ethical concerns, and it mentioned that actually, yes, some people in the movement do have ethical concerns. And that is, in my opinion, a shift away from what we've seen before that, where it was, this movement is purely about harassment. Like, it was a black and white issue. And that was the narrative that was peddled for this long. And I'm just getting this feeling that people are slowly coming around to the idea that they are willing to talk about it, but they're still shit scared of doing it in public, absolutely terrified of it.
So I guess, do you think, kind of watching this unplay, and I figured this was going to happen eventually, that somebody at least would step up to the plate. That's going back even to the escapists with like Greg Tito. I disagree with a lot of what Greg Tito has said, but he was the only one out of this entire thing to go into those forums and say, you know what, this is what I did, this is why I did it, and let's talk about it. And I think that's why a lot of people like the escapists. They're going to the forums and talking. They're enjoying their content. And I don't know why it is that you have a Tito who's willing to do that, and look how it turned out for him. And yet these other journalists refuse to do it. And it feels like the only reason they're even considering it now is not because they're feeling, I guess, less scared, but because they understand that this boycotting and contacting advertisers and has an effect on the bottom line. Do you think that even if they come to the table that the damage is so great at this point that nobody will trust them, or that it's too much to mitigate? You can't undo this kind of damage.
I think that you can undo it, but I think that also people have to be willing to accept that wasn't the initial objective to try and get these people to admit wrongdoing and to actually talk about journalistic ethics. Because I tweeted a couple of days ago, and I was very concerned about some of the stuff that was being said in Kotaku in Action, where it was people saying, nope, too late, too late. I disagree. It's never, ever fucking too late. If you are looking to get these people on your side, and you're looking to get these people to serve you as the consumer, then if they offer a sincere apology and they actually offer to realistically come to the table with you, then you've got to let them do it. You have to. Because if you don't give them a way out, and then all they're going to do is they're going to keep circling the wagons, they're going to keep peddling the same narrative, because so far, at least in the mainstream media, that narrative has been working. It might not have been working with us, but it certainly has been working with the mainstream media, and the more they keep parroting it, we've seen the power of the media, the more they keep parroting it, the more people will actually believe it. And eventually, will Gamergate sort of peter out? I mean, it probably. I imagine it will eventually. Every movement has a shelf life. But I just dearly hope that they will be willing to talk. And that's all I've wanted from the very start. But it's just been so depressing to see people who are not willing to do that. But I think we might be getting to the point where some people will. And when that happens, then I think we can start to really get away from this idea that that a section of the movement is about harassment. There's this one thing that I said to them, and I've said to everyone that I've discussed this with in private. Look, if you truly believe the movement is about harassment, then stop talking about harassment. Start talking about ethics. Because what you do when you do that is you starve the people who are actually perpetrating harassment of oxygen. These people want attention, and you're giving it to them. You're giving it to them every single day. You gave them MSNB fucking C.
Right.
What? It's a troll's fucking victory dance.
It really is.
Mainstream media on a platter. What are you doing? What the hell is wrong with you?
See, I don't think they really. I think people, at least the people that I've been paying attention to, have kind of picked up on it. But there are third parties that are actively stirring the pot to try to get reactions. And yeah, MSNBC sure as hell is fuel to the fire for that. But it's weird. I don't know where this is going to go. When this started, at least my main goal when I started talking about it was I was pissed because I thought they had an obligation as journalists to cover things and to be honest and not to, do corrupt things or collude with one another. And it seemed like it just kept getting worse and worse. And especially with the fine young capitalists, that really pisses me off because you have this group of people that had something bad happen to them that involved journalists and involved game developers, and nobody would report on it. And how many stories like that are out there? Like, why are they not bothered by that? Why wouldn't they investigate that?
The latest by William Usher is actually the smoking gun, and it happened at Destructoid. So if you guys haven't seen that story yet, you should. Apparently, Destructoid is caught up on reporting that involves a game developer, a live Twitch suicide, and essentially a cover-up. And followed by that cover-up is a blacklisting that happened right inside the Game Journal Pros list.
Yeah, see, this can't be allowed to happen. They can't. People like this cannot be allowed to wield that kind of power. I know it's just games media. I get it. People say it's just games journalism, but they have an ethical responsibility. They have standards for their profession.
I'm not even buying that it's only games media. What's the biggest entertainment industry in the world at the moment?
Gaming.
Exactly, it's gaming. It's not just games media. This is fucking colossal. I really think it's important to consider exactly what we're expecting of them when they come to the table. I do totally agree with Total Biscuit here. He's absolutely right. If we don't give them a way out, I think the fact that they don't have a way out is why they've all gone off the rails and some collective.
Well, no, I disagree that they had a way out. They could have done what Great Tito did.
No, they did. They did.
What the Escapists did.
They refused it.
Just to be kind of devil's advocate a little bit there, Kotaku kind of did. Like, they revised their ethical policies as a direct result of Gamergate. The problem that I currently have with them, and I've said this directly to the people that work there, is that they have not accepted the conflicts of interest that have been proven. And I'm not talking about this idea that Nathan Grayson reviewed Zoe Quinn's game. That's factually false. What we do know is that he reported on an article that was written by Jared Rosen. He effectively, he just blog spammed it, really. He just took portions from Jared Rosen's article that was sourced from Zoe Quinn regarding the Polaris Game Jam, and in doing so, plugs her game jam and her game. And this happened what could have been 24 hours before Kotaku recognized that Zoe Quinn had started to engage in a romantic relationship. And of course, we already know that they knew each other prior to that. And that simply is, you are reporting on a friend. You need to disclose that.
It goes even further than that, though. What really angered me, like, Stephen Totillo came out and he first addressed the Grayson thing, and I thought it was a line of crap. We had a relationship 24 hours after, whatever. But at least he addressed it. Then he addressed Patreon. Kirk Hamilton was donating money to Zoe Quinn, and so he's like, you know what, we're gonna draw a line and say you can't personally support somebody in an industry you're reporting on. Of course. Right, but he never addressed Patricia Hernandez.
Yes, so there was this one comment he made, and I don't like the comment because I feel that it's a cop-out. He didn't even address it in an article, he addressed it in a comment, and he said that he believed they were innocent mistakes. And I was like, Patricia Hernandez has been in the game for quite some time, and I don't believe that you believe those were actually innocent mistakes. That's not something that you can really get away with. And the fact of the matter is that they did go back and retroactively disclose it. So they recognized there was a problem, but they won't. It's like, in that situation, wouldn't you push Patricia to apologize?
Well,
or wouldn't you write this up?
Actually, that was exactly my point. The thing is, you are right. They've made lip service concessions, but they haven't changed anything. What we're looking at is required is like systematic reform. The whole thing has to be reshaped at least, because everything there is a hell of a lot going on in there that really shouldn't be going on. And
agree.
So basically, when they come to the table, a bunch of people are probably going to have to get fired.
Well, it raises concerns about, Stephen Totillo's position as editor-in-chief. As editor-in-chief, he should have oversight on his staff. I mean, he should know this stuff. So it raises either one of two things. Either Stephen Totilo knew all this stuff was going on and he didn't care and allowed it, or he was unaware that this was going on and his staff is out of control. Either way, that makes him look very bad as an editor-in-chief. Like, he should have come out and issued a statement saying, and this isn't even like Kirk Hamilton with the Patreon thing, I think was bad. A slap on the wrist would have been fine. But in regards to like Grayson and Hernandez, that's a bigger issue. There should have been something more than just a hand waving it off with 4 or 5 Twitter statements and a paragraph in the editor's column on Kotaku. He really should have stepped up and done something. Anything would have been better than nothing, Stephen. You know, it just I don't know what's going on with this guy.
Sorry, it's I swear to God, there's this culture, like Todd was saying, that it's a culture of fear that they create. You can't really speak out against it. So the only things we've seen have been really perfunctory gestures. You know, nothing that would actually have caused Gamergate to actually end. You know, because the problem, it's the principle of the thing now, isn't it? You know, it doesn't go on for 2 months over a bit of corruption. Now it's the goddamn principle that they're all involved and they're all supporting this. How can this be going on? You know, how can they be attacking their audience? This is madness. And, you know, so they've got to, whatever culture they've generated, just watch Leigh Alexander's XOXO Fest talk. She is brazen. She is just absolutely brazen about how biased she is, how she's trying to inject her agenda into gaming, and everyone can fuck themselves.
Hey, Sargon, you shared the video of Leigh Alexander's MSNBC interview. I have it linked on the chat. It's where she literally goes into a black hole. That moment.
I haven't actually seen that one, I don't think.
You haven't seen that one?
Did I share that? Did I share that one?
Yeah, you shared that one. It happens at 4 minutes and 6 seconds, and she literally just loses it. So I have it linked on the stream chat here.
I might have watched it when I was in bed.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, Sargon. I mean, I think the thing that I found most concerning in regards to Game Journals Pro, aside from the feeling that there are people behind the scenes kind of pressuring what you can talk about and what you can't, is I think it was Navarro who said it. Well, if they're angry about this, they're going to be angry about the fact that I'm a member of 7 other secret groups. So that's the thing. Like, is this like high? It feels like junior high school. It feels like these people treat their profession like it's junior high school.
Yeah, a lot of jokes being made in it. It's the amount of snark and derision that really gets me. I understand that it's very tempting to engage in that kind of behavior when you're being dogpiled. And let's be honest, a lot of viewers and a lot of people just don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
And that's fine. But you can only really do that to a point without really starting to get people's backs up. And I learned that in the past. You know, I engaged in that fucking behavior, and it made me look like an idiot. And that's now on the internet forever, and there's nothing I can do about that. And it just seems to me that people who have been in this industry for longer than me should kind of know better.
Right. It's really ridiculous when you think about the fact that, or at least, I mean, some of these are large companies. Gawker's a fairly large company. I'm just floored by the fact that nobody in PR would step in and say, what are you doing? You can't, you know, Patricia, you can't call people.
I'm not sure they have PR.
They are the PR. That's the thing.
They have the PR skills of a spitting cobra.
Well, they need to hire someone. Nick Denton needs to shell out some money and get Gawker some PR people because.
Here's something that actually affects me and a lot of my peers in indie game dev. A lot of these journalists and essentially their PR, a lot of them take advantage of the anonymous jury systems that are in place in the IGF and the Indiecade. Those anonymous jury systems in and of themselves are literally a click where, you know, they can take advantage of their anonymity and they can use the system to literally drive indie game dev. And for me, you know, when people talk about clicks and they talk about this industry collusion and it's high school, it's like, yeah, that's all well and funny, and, you know, that attitude is something that's, you know, something I don't want to condone. But when it starts affecting the culture of game devs and people just trying to get in this industry, I take serious offense at it, because this is the kind of collusion that I'm trying to fight. And, you know, it's in the rumor mill, and I think it's already fact. The fact that a lot of these game journalists, they go inside the anonymous jury systems for the IGF and in the Indiecade, and they pimp out their friends.
Well, and that's an issue. I mean, one of the other issues, aside from like the consumer's perspective, is the game developer perspective. I mean, you're talking about indie developers, right?
Yeah.
And you have all these issues that are popping up with them. I mean, what was it? I keep screwing this up. Was it the IDGA guy that had talked today and said?
Yeah.
The guy
Yeah.
and Jonathan Blow are literally on a Twitter rampage trying to, threaten indie game developers who say, "Hey, we will remember forever. If you support Gamergate, it's gonna hurt your business career for the rest of your fucking life." And I'm
Right,
like,
and that's
wow.
something that
Hashtag
I
the
mean,
internet is forever.
right, but
That's what he
that's
said.
something that should not be happening. I mean, you can't have a situation where these people wield power and say, "Listen, if you're not on our side, if you don't agree with what we say, you're gone." I mean, one of Jaffe's arguments against Gamergate from the start was, "It's not a big deal. I don't see this happening." And even when you brought him evidence, he's like, "I don't see it as happening." When you had people like Leigh Alexander making these horrible statements, kind of standing as a gatekeeper at Gamasutra. And the funny thing is, like, Jaffe puts up applications to work at his studio on Gamasutra. So like if you're looking for a job, you're going to this website, and this website's connected to people that are threatening you and your career. So now you have people from IDGA and all these other organizations that are basically saying, if you're not on our side, you're never going to work in the industry. That can't happen.
I think the thing with Jaffe is that like he has been in a position where he is far beyond the influence of any of these people for a very, very long time. And
Right.
outside of the bullshit that occurred with him and Kuchera years ago, he's kind of untouchable. And as a result, I imagine he does not view this as a particularly big issue. But I think that indies who are just starting out that don't really have that level of support, that is a big issue. And I fundamentally disagree with this idea. We're going to blacklist you if you have anything to do with Gamergate. If you can prove that that person actually engaged in harassment, great. You know what happened when the God, what the hell are they called? Code Avarice guys. They recently threatened to kill Gabe Newell.
Oh God, yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
fucking condemned it. Like gamers across the board fucking condemned it because that was someone who was actually publicly, and probably not seriously, but publicly threatening someone within the industry. Like proven. Not even a question about it. It's not guilt by association. Actually did it. And everyone came down on him, and rightfully fucking so. And if a person is proven to be engaged in harassment, absolutely come down on them. Absolutely blacklist that person. But being vaguely associated to a hashtag that people have freely admitted that they don't really fully understand and is about so many different things and involves so many different people and is leaderless and doesn't have a set agenda or manifesto. If you're saying that being even vaguely associated with that is grounds for blacklisting, then am extremely concerned that you might have the influence to do something like that. I don't think that this IGDA guy does.
Oh, and I'm sure he
but
doesn't. But statements like this have been
that's pretty.
continually made.
Yeah. What? Sorry. We support inclusivity. Do we?
Right. It's just it's crazy to me that these people, and again, it goes back to their hubris. I mean, they're so sorry, they're so arrogant about it. They'll make these statements and think that nothing happens. You're talking about the snark. I don't know if it's snark from him, if he's just shooting the shit on the internet, or if he's being serious about it. But
Twitter. Like,
It
I wish
doesn't-
we could just delete Twitter.
I know, right? I hate social media so goddamn much. I've had to use it for this Gamergate thing. I'm not a fan of social media.
Oh yeah. Social media, social justice, social engineering. It's all in the social sphere.
Yeah.
But
Now I understand why I'm antisocial.
That's I think I see why they're getting so arrogant, because there have been no real consequences for any of them. All the consequences they've endured, they've effectively chosen.
Right.
To play the victim, to publicize this harassment. It's all benefited them. No one's been fired. No one's been ostracized from the group. No one's been reprimanded in any way for their poor behavior and unethical conduct.
well, I mean, God, look at Sam Biddle. I mean, they said he was promoted. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, this is what I mean, and this is why Leigh Alexander, she literally at her XOXO Fest said, "I declared gamers are over and I still have a job." And she was like, "We must be winning, or we must be doing something right, or something like that." And it's just like, this is a culture war as they see it. They see it as a culture war. They are trying to take over. And they've got to the point where they realize that there is no one around who can remove them from their positions. So this is why gamers have got to go beyond them, go to the advertisers.
Well, yeah, that's why they're removing the sites. I mean, that's going to be the end result, and it's going to. These people are hurting their own peers.
Oh, they're idiots. They're idiots. It's unbelievable. They've got no sense of self-awareness at all. You know, they have no idea how they look to people who aren't in their clique, and because they live in their little echo chambers, all they hear are the same. Look at their obsession with the narrative. They're so concerned about the narrative because it's weird that they've got some method in their heads of just ignoring things that are just not that don't confirm what they want to believe, and so they can just go on as a group and all just say, no, that piece of information, that was nonsense. You don't have to pay attention to that. Just pay attention to the bits we want to believe. And then as a group, we're all completely justified in anything we do. I can't explain it.
Hell, I mean, you'd think if you wanted to make some ad revenue, considering these websites are making fuck all money, you'd want to write as many articles as possible. So why don't you try looking at it from the other side? You know, that's a good way to make a little bit extra dosh. You know, give that a shot. I don't know. I do think that eventually, at least some sites will be forced to acknowledge some issues like this. And it's really weird that we see IGN, who I viewed for the longest time as the kings of corrupt games journalism, actually writing a reasonable assessment and saying, look, yeah, we see this harassment going on. And there is harassment going on. But they didn't point out specifically who was doing it or towards whom. There is harassment going on towards everybody. It is associated with the happenings surrounding Gamergate. It is not endorsed by Gamergate, but it is occurring regardless because that's what happens whenever there's any controversy. Unfortunately, controversy breeds hostility, which breeds harassment, whether you like it or not, and you've got to be extremely careful when dealing with that stuff. But I really do feel that the games media has done a terrible job of de-escalation. In fact, they've done the exact opposite.
They really have. I've never seen a group shoot themselves so hard in the foot. Everything they could have done wrong, they did wrong. Instead of apologizing or addressing the issues, they didn't. Instead of having open conversation, they censored. Instead of trying to resolve any of these problems, they just kept bringing up more. It's like they couldn't help themselves. They felt so secure.
I'm so curious about that. It's like they could have profited from this. If we're just thinking about bottom line,
right?
If we took a neutral stance and addressed both sides of the issue and let people fight over it, drive more traffic to their sites. We could be all here looking at Kotaku right now, but we're actually boycotting Kotaku, and we're taking away their ad revenue.
That's why it feels like it's ideologically driven. Because
you're
right.
It's absolutely ideologically driven. There is no doubt about it.
Because they could have made a huge amount of money. Yeah.
Absolutely. They're such goddamn fools. But this is absolutely ideological. There's no getting around it. There's no getting away from it. And I never used the phrase cultural Marxism. I never used it. But if you just look into academia, they do readings of Edward Bernays, the guy who coined the term public relations because propaganda was a dirty word. I literally was speaking to Shira Chest from Digra, and I was like, look, are you actually Marxist? And she was like, yeah, we're all Marxists, effectively. Adrian Shaw was like, what is this, the 60s? Like, Marxism isn't a dirty word. And it's like, it just doesn't work. Everyone knows it. And so it's just one of those things. It's like, right, okay, they are actually pushing the ideological agenda. I mean, in The Playful is Political, you've got Adrian Shaw saying, what have we done to get feminism into games and push our agenda? And then you've got Andrew Grant Wilson saying, look, I know you're all talking about signal boosting, but what about when being publicized on Kotaku is actively a bad thing? What then? And none of them had an answer. They just did not understand his question. And it was just like, that is exactly, they're blinded by their ideology, and there is no way they're going to admit that they're wrong. I really don't believe they're going to.
Do you think it's a situation like a fox in the henhouse? Do you think that it's one or two ideologues that have convinced the others to kind of go along with the narrative, and against their better judgment they have done that? Or do you think that it's hard for me to imagine that every one of them is like that? I really don't.
I think it's worse than that. I think that these I mean, they're all young. They're all so goddamn young. They're all the same age range. So I think they've probably been sold up the river by the educational system and been given people who were probably supposed to be good mentors and weren't. I mean, I'm not saying that they're all, died.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I should have been more specific. I meant in regards to the games journalists, because I feel like a few of them buy into a lot of. I feel like a few of them are really heavily ideological, and that's what flavors their writing. But I think that they impose that or force that on others through their kind of back channel meetings or their groups like Game Journals Pro, and it's like a fox in the henhouse. It's one or two kind of controlling it. That's the vibe I got, at least from a person like Kuchera, who
Yeah.
I personally really dislike, to be honest. But
I think that the game journalists are the very bottom of the pile. They are the least educated, they are the least informed, and they are the least important from their perspective. From our perspective, obviously, they seem massively important, but they take their marching orders from academia. I mean, look at the gamers are over. You know, a bunch of them linked directly to Adrian Shaw's article from 2011 saying gamers should die because it's just white men. And the thing is, because these people are such authoritarians, everything they do has got this authoritarian mindset. And all the people in academia are saying, well, I'm a professor of God knows what, gender studies course, so you need to listen to me because I'm a professor, and I've done peer-reviewed studies that are not peer-reviewed correctly in things called like the Fembot Collective, where they're peer-reviewing each other's papers. And it's just like, this false authority is what they're using to talk down to people. And I think you're absolutely right. I think that it's certain individuals in the gaming press, but that's because they're on the bottom rung. You know,
it's actually, going on that topic about their papers, it's actually not peer review. It's usually the citations on some of these papers and some of these research, they go back and cite their own papers in the past, or they cite papers that come from their own research group, and then they publish it to things like Digra and all these other conventions, especially the GDC. Most of the things that say games research on it, they don't actually have a wide depth and wide coverage, and they don't actually address other people's papers. They're usually just there to pump out the paper, publish, and say, oh, look, I'm a published researcher.
That peer review statement, though, from that Diger group, I know it's a bit off topic because we're talking about the Game Journalist Pro thing, but when they said they disliked peer review, that blows my mind that somebody in academia who writes and researches and does all of this. I know there are problems with the system. When I did the stream with Thunderfoot, we kind of talked afterwards a little bit about peer review, but it floors me that somebody would say that peer review is bad, that they should get rid of it so you can write whatever you want, and then just use the authority of a degree to basically push forward an idea was just mind-blowing.
It's absurd. It's absolutely. I mean, it's the pillar of scientific legitimacy. It is what gives science the authority that it has, and they just want to completely subvert that. I mean, what would Richard Dawkins say? He'd be like, what? He'd be shocked, surely. And,
yeah, most definitely.
That's what I mean. These are the sort of people we probably need to start contacting next, really, and be like, I mean, I've actually got a direct example that I'm going to be putting into a video of how they've taken a scientific study that was done by actual scientists about spatial awareness. I didn't find this research, by the way. This is one of my researchers that found this, and he was amazing. Seriously, these guys are, and this has just been guys saying, hey, look, I really want to help out with this because this is just there is some dark stuff going on, and we all need to know. But basically, they found this. They've got the scientific paper about spatial awareness, and they found that people who played video games a lot had very good spatial awareness, and people who didn't play video games a lot didn't. And it just so happens that video games are the sort of video games that improve spatial awareness are far more often played by men than women. It's just the way it is. But that's not to say there weren't any women who had the excellent spatial awareness that you would expect from playing video games, and there weren't any men who on the other side. And they specifically say in the paper that this isn't a gender issue; it's effectively a practice issue. And this paper, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but this paper was cited in a Digra paper called "The Hegemony of Play," where they literally say the spatial awareness of spatial awareness is gendered. So it's specifically split between men and women, and it's like, no, that is wrong. That is factually wrong. And it's such an easy spot. It's literally in like the abstract or something like that they state that, and it's just, and no one has fact checked it. Absolutely no one. And this is the thing. They create this bullshit in their little think tanks, and then they pass it down to people like Leigh Alexander. That's why she calls herself a megaphone. Lifshitz, Macintosh, Leigh Alexander, all these sort of people, they don't work directly in the press, or maybe they do, but not very much, But what they more are is sort of effectively what we are for Gamergate. We're the ones who are presenting ideas like megaphones, But our ideas are effectively peer-reviewed by everyone else. You know, their ideas are talked top-down. This is how it is, so memorize it and walk in lockstep, you know.
Well, that's why I think it's an interesting angle. I mean, with the idea that some of these opinions are informed by research that is not the best, and looking into that research really kind of cripples it. You know what I mean? Being able to say like you did, like we looked at it, we looked at the information. They're pulling out a sentence from the abstract and misrepresenting what it actually says, and then it's getting parroted by people writing articles saying that gaming is dead because you're all sexist, horrible people.
Oh, that article, that paper, The Hegemony of Play, had something like 49 citations. 49 other Digra papers reference it, and it's wrong. It's incorrect. So that invalidates those papers all of a sudden. It's such a just con. It's such a fucking con. It's an ideologically driven con.
Well, as lovely as this is, Chad is screaming at us to stay away from the tinfoil Sargon.
It's not tinfoil.
No, this is not tinfoil. This is Operation Digging Digra in action. There's a lot of Digra people who are actually begging Sargon of Akkad to do what he's doing right now.
Apparently Twitter is down too.
Yeah, Twitter's down.
I did say that we needed to get rid of Twitter, and now it's been got rid of. So
they've listened.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I don't know a great deal about all of this Digra stuff or anything along those lines, but I do get behind the idea that there's a lot of authoritarian statements being made by games journalists, and they're starting to, well, they're not just starting to slip into reviews, they are slipping into reviews. And I think there are a number of perhaps practical things that can be done to stop that outside of kind of tackling the whole idea of we've got to stop them injecting ideologies into reviews, because people, everyone is biased, right? And I disagree with Jason Schreier's idea that objectivity is impossible, because what I believe is the pursuit of objectivity is the most important thing.
Exactly.
You try and be as objective as possible. And what a lot of people believe when they hear the word objectivity, what they actually are thinking is, can you wear someone else's shoes? Are you able to take away your own perspective, replace it with another, and speak from that perspective? Because that makes you useful to the consumer. And that's really what it all comes down to, isn't it?
Empathy.
Yeah, empathy, exactly. How useful is your review? How can you make it useful to a large number of people? You can do it by saying, look, here's my biases. I'm going to wear them on my sleeve. I'm going to say, I like this genre. I don't like this genre. I like this developer. I don't like this developer. I'm going into this review with this particular focus. But what I will also try and do is I will try and look at it from other people's perspectives. I try and do this whenever I look at a platformer, because I fucking hate platformers. I'm terrible at them. I'm just awful. But I still have to look at them, because I want to give these guys a fair shake. So I'll try and look at it from the perspective of what if I did like platformers? What kind of features would I be looking for there? And I think that when you make statements like Bayonetta is sexist, I think that that's a needless authoritarian statement, when you could have made a very interesting discussion out of that by saying, well, some people think Bayonetta is sexist, but some people don't. And here are the two sides of that. And then if you want to take a side, cool, but only after you've kind of tried to discuss the topic. Because the idea of X character is sexist is highly debated, and it's not a right or wrong answer. Like, is Bayonetta sexist? Some people think so. Isn't she? Some people think so. Let's talk about that. That sounds cool. And then let's remove this from the goddamn score. In fact, let's kill scores entirely. Because if you kill scores entirely, you can be super feminist, radical, social Marxist, otherkin, headmate blog number 47, and make your reviews based entirely on that ideology. And as long as you're not on Metacritic with it, and you're not affecting people's bonuses and people's rankings on that site, you can say whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. It sounds fantastic, right? Just kill scores.
Absolutely does. But
Can I just clarify something very quickly? I just want to so the people in the chat know, this is a very small group of people that I'm talking about in Digra. It's not a conspiracy. It's just a culture. They all think that they're doing the right thing, and I totally agree that I imagine that a lot of people as it's filtered, it goes through people like Silverstring Media and stuff like that, and when it finally gets down to the plebs and the game journalists. No, they are. You can tell when they're talking about each other, when you're reading their stuff, when they talk about each other, they look down on these people. You know, they think of themselves at the top of this pyramid, and they cascade their Marxist bullshit down.
Which is kind of hilarious. I'm pretty sure Silverstring Media has basically no fucking influence, and like compared to any one YouTuber, has more influence than all of Silverstring Media put together.
And you know that has to kill them at the end of the day. The fact that they're being replaced by essentially consumer-to-consumer review. You know what I mean? They're getting rid of the PR and reviewing and journalism middleman. And it's consumer to consumer, and I know that irks them at the end of the day. Just one quick thing, Sargon, and then I'll shut up here.
I'm going to scoot off quite soon, by the way, just letting you know.
Oh yeah, but to talk about what you're talking about excuse me, objectivity and biases. Somebody was linking this earlier, and I've been reading through the reviews, and I'm floored by this. It's called Christ-Centered Gamer. And if you go and read these reviews, they do essentially what you're talking about. They review the game as from a gamer's perspective, and then they review it from their own ideological perspective.
Yes.
But they break their score down. It's completely separated. So for like Persona 4, they gave it a 91. But then they had a morality ranking of 84, and they explained why that is.
They're not the only Christian site to do that, actually. I've noticed that, and it's really quite responsible, because what they recognize is that even within, say, something like Christianity, people have wildly different views on morality. There are, of course, hundreds, thousands of denominations of Christianity alone that all have different views. So when you break down a score like that, you're actually being, again, pro-consumer because you're being very useful, but you're simultaneously saying, look, I'm not like, my writing is not defined by the fact that I am Christian or whatever. It's not defined by that. I can still do a good game review. I'm going to serve both your interests. That's fantastic.
It is.
That's a great attitude. And Gorka mocked it.
They mocked Christ-centered game?
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago, I believe. Like it was either Kotaku or just Gorka in general. But it posted this article that was like, "Hey, look at these guys. How do you do? Isn't that kind of wacky?" It's like, you post articles with fucking watermelon butts and stuff. Don't start on me.
But no, I think it's phenomenal. I was really floored by the fact that these guys can separate that they can do both things. They can serve both purposes, cool. and they're completely upfront about it. It's not hidden. Here's the score breakdown. Here's the game by itself, and here's our personal opinion on it.
They're not zealots, are they?
Well, it's amazing.
I'm sorry, but if you've been out-reasoned by a Christian gaming website, then what the fuck did you do wrong?
It says everything we need to know about Gorka.
Yeah,
they
need Jesus, apparently.
I think
fuckers need Jesus.
I think this website though is this obvious. I like it. I really like that they do this.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, the fact that they can do it, but Gawker, Polygon, Gawker, Kotaku, Polygon, Rock Paper Shotgun, Gamasutra, that they can't. What the hell, man? I mean, there's no reason.
I'll give one thing to Kotaku. It's that Jason Schreier pushed them away from scores a while ago. Like, he really believes in killing scores. And I'll give them that.
Jason Schreier. It's hard for me to take him seriously after the objectivity thing. And then that statement he made on NeoGAF about, what was it, Dragon's Crown?
Oh, he fucked up hard on that one. Like, this whole idea is like, let's stop allowing teenagers to design it. It's like, that's not what the artist is like at all. And there are plenty of examples of that exaggerated art style. And I think it's cool that we can talk about that art style, but simultaneously we shouldn't do it in is it condemnatory? Is that the word I'm looking for? I believe it is. A condemnatory fashion. Let's talk about it on its merits, and also just say, look, some people appreciate it, but I'm not a big fan of the Dragon's Crown art style. I mean, fuck, you jump as the Amazon and your arse expands. It's like it's two balloons that send you into the stratosphere. It's silly. Like, it's really silly. But at the end of the day, we should be promoting diversity in aesthetics as well, right? And Dragon's Crown looks quite different to many games.
It's a gorgeous game. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I don't like the art style, but I can appreciate it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his take on that was pretty funny, and watching him try to justify it was bizarre.
Yeah, and I think like everyone has said really stupid shit in the past, and I think.
I have all the time.
Yeah, and I think perhaps Jason probably when asked about it right now would probably regret saying that. But again, we just like I think we still kind of get back to the same point. It's if someone is willing to engage, then engage with them. Try and have a discussion. Try and have discourse. Discourse will end this thing.
Well, let me ask you this: what do you think? Just hypothetically, what do you think Gamergate could do to get them to engage with us? If we could do one thing to get them to actually come to the table and talk, what would you recommend? What would the one thing be?
The only thing that I can think of, because I mean that's a very difficult question, because like you're asking like what could Gamergate do when Gamergate is a leaderless consumer reports, like,
Right, exactly.
it's like what could the clouds do to make the sky look clearer?
Gamergate is idea driven. You know, anyone who says a good idea that can get passed around.
That is very true.
Yeah, I can. The only one thing that I would do is that I think there's maybe a little bit too much of the whole you said something a little bit different, ergo you're a shill thing going around. I think that's potentially harmful, and I think that ties into the whole it's too late for you to talk to us anymore idea. I really think that needs to be rejected. There's no doubt that there are shills, absolutely, but what do you do to trolls? You starve them of oxygen. You don't give them ammunition, and you got to be very careful not to take out someone in the crossfire that really actually might really want to discuss something with you. I think do it. Take it as an opportunity to win hearts and minds. And even if you don't convince that person, maybe you convince someone that was listening to the conversation. It's the good old internet argument principle. You never try to win an internet argument with another person. You try to win over the people that are watching. The other guy's never going to.
Exactly. It never wins. You'll never ever convince anybody of anything.
That is
Anyway, I've got to bail, guys. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks for coming by. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
really
Sure,
nice
okay.
to meet you, man.
Yeah, no problem at all. See you around.
Have a
care.
nice one.
Bye bye.
I believe we're, I don't know, just to, I guess, jump off on where TB is saying and this whole discussion about bringing them to the table.
Mhm.
It's been week 11 by my count. Week 11, they have done nothing, and we're burning their advertising. So I say we just keep going. There's no more table at all. That table has been burned down so much, and there's there's so many olive branches that people offered.
Well,
And
what about the people though that have been silent about it? I mean, there have been certain people at certain sites that you are noticeably staying away from it. Do you think if they were to just come out on their own and say, "Listen, we're not a part of this either side. Let's talk." Do you think people would accept that or reject it?
I think most of these sites that have been sort of neutral on this and trying to calm this down are doing the right thing, because they're just waiting for the loud
Okay, let me say it like this. What if the Dorito Pope said, "Hey, Gamergate, I want to talk to you. Let's have a conversation. Do you think Gamergate should go to the table with the Dorito Pope?"
Hell yeah,
Oh, yeah.
definitely. Hell yeah.
Have a Dorito Pope hat.
I don't think it'll ever happen though.
Jeff Keighley, you need to do that. We will go to the table with you. All of Gamergate will talk to the Dorito Pope if he asks.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be on the table of game devs and at least some rational sites in the future. And there's already, alternative markets and alternative sites popping up. The Ralph's one of them. And
Niche Gamer is also one.
There
Yeah,
are
yeah.
a lot of
There's
them.
a lot of them, yeah.
That's one of the
GameStop,
main
Dr.
things,
Pepper,
yeah,
Gamer,
it's-
Ralph Retort, all of them, yeah.
Establishing
Yeah,
an
so-
alternative media, yeah.
so in terms of, bringing Gawker or Vox or Gamasutra to the table, I don't know. That's long gone, dude. But for neutral people, I mean, we don't even need more pro Gamergaters at this point. I say we just need to find people who are neutral and, who are questioning the topic, and bring those guys to the table. So, I mean,
How did this happen? Why is it so religiously themed that everybody? You've got Christ-centered gaming doing fucking game reviews the right way, and you've got the Dorito Pope as the fucking good guy in all of this. What the fuck is going on the internet?
I don't know.
Bobby Kotick. Bobby Kotick.
Bobby Kotick is been fucking.
Kotick is right, and $3.3 million. I mean, it's a paradigm shift. I'm just going to toss that weird big word out there. It's a paradigm shift, and it's a reformation. And a lot of this has got people questioning what exactly is happening in the gaming space. A lot of these scandals that are bringing to light are making people question, hey, why did I read Kotaku all those years, and now it's all a bunch of fucking bullshit. So in terms of what's happening on the web and what's happening in Gamergate, a lot of people are asking questions. And, because they were asking questions, they got shut down by the same group of freaking people. And here we are, week 12, advertising money is, burning away. So I say we just keep going.
I
We can make this last years, guys. I'm not
I
afraid.
don't know if I want it to last years. I'm hoping it'll only last like one more month, actually.
I mean, I don't know.
I just want a couple
Aaron,
people
though.
fired, but
This really isn't actually that unusual. In fact, it's kind of unusual that this sort of thing isn't happening more often. I mean, the Pope has called a crusade on France before. You understand?
That's very true. Well, we could have our Pope call a crusade against Kotaku if you want.
No, but seriously, that's exactly the point. You get problem cultures that spring up, and societies do have to sometimes take quite radical steps to remove them. I mean, the Pope calls a crusade on France. That sounds ridiculous until you realise it was a heresy that took root and formed a new culture and was pushing outwards. And so it's and it was a threat to the establishment. It was a threat to the order. And so that's kind of the situation we're finding ourselves in now. And that's why I talk about the Digra stuff, because it's just to provide context. I really don't think we need to do anything about Digra, because as soon as we...
Don't get me wrong, Sargon. I like that you're looking into it, and I do think that there is academic influence, and I do think that touches on a lot of the SJW stuff. But I just like bringing it up because the chat always freaks out over it. So
Yeah,
I was teasing a little.
No. I'm not even getting defensive about it. It's true. It sounds like tinfoil stuff, and it's funny. It's like I can't believe a bunch of fat men hating lesbians have caused the end of gamers. I can't believe it. It sounds stupid. We're through the fucking looking glass, but it's happened. So
Welcome to the internet, the craziest fucking place on earth.
But yeah, that's the thing. We don't have to do anything about Digra. We don't have to do anything about Silverstring, because their declaration that they're social justice warrior, feminist psychopaths is enough that the extremity that we see is all we have to do is defeat that, and then where are they going to go from there? Who's going to be like, oh, you're from Digra? No, we're all right. We don't need to do anything about it. They're just going to wither and die. Yeah, we know about your peer review system. Thanks very much. We don't need that paper. So we don't need to do anything about them. But it's important to be aware of them. Just because this does have a larger cultural context, and it's going to be a precedent for other spheres of life. The right wing are probably thanking their lucky stars that this has happened.
Oh, are you kidding me? I have a feeling there are a lot of groups that, of all different stripes, that have been watching this kind of play out and have been probably taking notes in amazement that this has succeeded and that these people are failing. It really is remarkable, and I think once it's all said and done with, people will it'll probably hit them then as to how big of a coup, how big of a win this is in relation to almost anything. It really is remarkable. That's the only way to really describe it.
It's like the Luddites, these people are like the intellectual Luddites that are currently raging against the Industrial Revolution. This sort of thing happens all the time. This is actually really, really normal, and so we just have to find a place like gaming where it stops and everything can be revealed for what it is, and then it can just be rolled back.
Well, and I mean, how great is that too? People make jokes about the tinfoil or about looking at different things, but that's the craziest thing about this, I think. We're still winning. We could say the craziest shit on earth, and we're still winning. How the fuck is that happening? They should be able to hammer us. Right, there's no way we can fuck this up, and I know that drives them crazy.
Yeah, their win condition is when we say, okay, you know what, we don't want to be gamers anymore.
That's never going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when am I going to ever say I don't want to play games? I mean... So yeah, we can't lose. Or they don't have a win condition.
I caution on the yes, of course we're winning, but I caution on the side of not getting too cocky with this.
Are you kidding me? I'm dancing down the streets. Fuck these guys.
I'm looking at Twitter right now. Apparently, they have called the cops on Mike Cernovich.
Wait,
Why?
what?
Yeah.
I'm looking at Twitter right now, and apparently the LAPD has to treat every 9/11 as an emergency, and so they've gone to his house and okay.
But
no
why,
depths to
though?
what they won't stay.
They filed a police complaint against him.
Yeah, I
Oh,
saw they
why?
sent a web page where people could quick file a report against them and shit.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I saw
Right
some-
now, currently right now,
Yeah,
it's happening.
This
Yeah.
is ridiculous.
This is
I'll
ridiculous.
put the link in the chat. Somebody sent it to me a minute ago. Hold on.
Oh no, but you were talking earlier about don't get overconfident. I mean, yeah, in regard, in some aspects you're right, but fuck them. They're just so arrogant. Why shouldn't we be cocky? That's what gamers are. We shit talk. We should totally be cocky about it. That's our fucking nature.
I think don't forget the way the guys with the sense of humor. They're the fuckers who suck the fun out of everything.
Oh god, yeah, they're yeah, it's a wet blanket. They're fucking just they suck the fun out of anything.
Professional killjoys. And I don't think anyone's really had a good laugh in a while either, have they?
No, yeah, and you got to keep it lighthearted. Yeah, talk a little shit, have a little fun. Yeah. Well, I'd like to keep going with the stream, but my voice is fucking dying on me. So I'm going to cut it a little short. Do you guys want to give out like a YouTube page, a Twitter account, so that people watching, 4,500 bots apparently, because there's nobody's in Gamergate. It's 30 people from what I've been told. Yeah. But 4,500 bots might swing by. So if you want to just throw something out there, go ahead.
Well, they can follow me on Twitter at @TheRalphRetort, or visit my site, of course, theralphretort.com, and that's it, pretty much. Oh, YouTube, the Ralph 2001. So.
All right, fantastic. Sargon.
Yeah, I just want to tell everyone that some guy from Sweden emailed me about a week ago saying that he was working on a piece of art, like proper Renaissance style, laden with meaning art. And that's actually one of the reasons that I was bringing up the dark stuff because
segue into that.
No, because to make sure that you all are aware of the context of what the painting is, because this painting encapsulates everything about Gamergate. It's one of those sort of I've just seen the rough sketch with some bits painted in, so I don't know how good it's going to be at the end. But the sketch, it's just magnificent, and I can't really tell you anymore because I'm sworn to secrecy, but I was allowed to tell you about the painting.
Well, are you going to share that with everybody when he's done, yeah?
Yeah, well, he's going to. It's not mine. I didn't suggest it or anything. This guy just literally sent me the concept fully formed and was like, "Is there anything I'm missing?" And I'm like, "Not really, I mean, I suggested some people, but it's, practically had everyone on there, and it was just like, and just so many like fine details and just clever visual representations of metaphors, and it looks really good, and I'm really excited to see the full.
Well, I'm kind of hyped for this now too. Shit.
Honestly, it's fucking awesome. It looks like the best game of Dungeons and Dragons you've ever seen. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
Honestly, it looks fucking awesome, and I shouldn't talk it up too much because it might suck. But I don't know. I haven't seen the finished product, but I honestly didn't have any real input in this at all, and I'm just like, okay.
I'm sure it'll turn out great. Yeah, everybody in the chat's going Sweden yes. It'll be a Sweden yes portrait. It'll be great.
No, it looks really good, and I'm really looking forward to him.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Yeah. You gotta retweet it or share it wherever he links it so everybody can see this. Speaking of retweeting, do you want to give your YouTube Twitter out?
Oh, Sargon. I'm the only one. I don't even remember my own fucking addresses. But the thing about this painting, right, is that if it comes out well and if it looks good and everything, and I'm sure it will. I've seen parts of it coloured in. It looks fine. It's one of those picture says 1,000 words thing. Because it will show everyone exactly what Gamergate is like from the perspective of the gamers in just one image. It's so fucking good.
Well, shit. All right. Well, fantastic. Roguestar, you wanna throw?
Just to link to another stream for people who are interested in going to it. The Extra Life charity stream is now live, and I'll put the link here on the stream chat. I guess someone wanted to bump that. So okay. Another charity stream going live right as this one is ending.
Oh, good. Then we won't be dipping into their thing, so they have a good amount of bots watching apparently again.
Yeah,
nothing but real.
For all the robots and the fake accounts and trolls, you can follow me at Rogue Star Games with a Z at the end on Twitter, and help I guess fucking perpetuate the hellish hate machine that Gamergate is. So.
All right, fantastic. Jade, do you wanna plug something?
I just want you guys to remember to email if you can, and it'd be awesome if you guys emailed Hulu, Wolf Gawker. That'd be awesome because Hulu seems like they're gonna pull out. And that's basically it.
I'd agree with that too. It seems like the boycotting and the emailing and the contacting advertisers has had fucking remarkable success. I mean, if you're not doing it, you really should try, because the shit that's gone on this last week is unreal with the amount of people that have responded to that. Emails fucking work. All right. Well, thank you everybody that came out to watch. Again, thanks to Total Biscuit for swinging by. Obviously, I'm sure everybody in the chat knows his fucking Twitter handle and YouTube, so that should be good. But yeah, we're gonna close it up there then. All right,
Thanks
chat.
for inviting me, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, again, thanks everybody for coming out. Ralph Retort, Rogue Star Games, and Sargon, Jade, everybody.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.